Hello, this is DeJa, and this is my family heritage PowerPoint. Let's get started. Here it shows MCMINNVILLE, Tennessee. This is where my family is originally from. Here is where my family started out, and they were slaves. And after slavery was abolished, my one of my family members became a sharecropper, and a sharecropper was where African American family would be able to partially own some of the land that they used to work for, um, and they would partially own it with the slave owner. Next, I have started with Papa Wilkins. This was my great-grandmother's grandfather. He is the one that was the slave and a sharecropper. On the next slide, it talks about the information of the picture on the previous slide. It was the sister. I don't know if it was his sister or the one beside him's sister. And also the year he was born in 1870. He was 108 when he passed, and it says mama, so I'm guessing either the mother of his children or his wife. She was 95. I tried to find information about her. Nobody knew much about her. They just knew that about him and what he did and who he was. Papa also had two children, Rosie and Nellie Wilkins. Rosie Wilkins-Brown. This picture to the left is a hard copy of Rosie Wilkins' obituary. It says Rosie Ann Wilkerson-Brown, born August 31st, 1897, died November 11th, 1979. Rosie was born in Hillsborough, Tennessee, to the late Daisy and Ike Wilkerson, her mother and father. Later, she moved to Madisonville, Kentucky, and joined Holy Temple Church of God in Christ. She was in matrimony to Mr. Albert Jones. She had 3 daughters and 3 sons. They're listed on there also, one including Daisy Evans, which is my great-grandmother. She had 1 sister, which is Melody McFarland, who I mentioned previously. She had 26 grandchildren, 31 great-grandchildren, 3 nieces, and 3 nephews, 1 great-aunt. The cause of her death was heart failure. Rosie Wilkerson also married twice. It didn't say that in there. It just says that her first marriage was to Albert Jones, which is my great-grandmother's father, and then she married again to become Rosie Brown, Wilkerson-Brown. On the next slide is a picture of Nettie McFarland, Rosie Wilkins' sister, who was married to Al McFarland. This here is the location of Madisonville, Kentucky, where my family traveled to from Tennessee to Kentucky. One of the reasons that we moved here was an interesting one that I learned about. It was because Al McFarland, Nettie's husband, was having an affair with a white woman, and people found out about it in Tennessee. And of course, back then it was not allowed, so they were going to hang him, so he had to run, and the family came with him. They also came because of work opportunities in Madisonville. They did and they still do have a big coal mine there. Farming was big, and factory jobs were also available. So on this slide, I just decided to put in a fact about the town of Madisonville. When our family came in 1950, they were hanging blacks outside of the old jailhouse, and this is a picture of them. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm guessing that they were about to hang someone. One of the reasons I probably that they're hanging the blacks were probably because they were doing such as my family did and migrating from wherever they were to Madisonville for probably the same reason my family did, such as job opportunities and just getting away from the environment that they previously was in. And also the people that are already there, they probably didn't like that too much for all these new people coming and trying to take over what was already theirs. This slide is dedicated to my first cousin, my aunt, my grandmother, and my great grandmother. This is one of our favorite pictures because there's 4 generations in one picture, and that doesn't happen often. And I describe that from left to right is my aunt Tina, and then beside her, standing up, is my grandmother, and in the middle is my great grandmother, and in her hand is my first cousin DeJa. Another fact is that all of these women in this photo are the oldest, and they are all female. So that's a fun fact about that. And DeJa, I stated that she is not only the oldest. This is a picture of my grandmother in high school. My grandmother, Rosie Young. This is her senior portrait. She was the first to graduate high school out of her mother, her mother's mother, and her mother's father. And because she was the oldest out of her mother's kids, she became the first to graduate high school. And she was also one of the first groups to integrate in Madisonville. So she came from a predominantly black school, and this is my grandfather, Edward Young, also known as Eddie, but I call him grandfather or granddaddy. Um, he married my grandmother, Rosie, when they both graduated high school. I don't know how long after they graduated high school. He's a little bit older than my grandma, so he might have been graduated before my grandmother was. Um, so they married on May 23rd, 1970. This slide, I'm going to tell a little story about my family. But first, in this picture is my mother to the far left, um, my aunt Tina in the center, and then my aunt Kim to the right, and then my uncle Nathan in the back. Something that I wanted to tell was that my uncle is actually my mother and her two sisters. Um, he is technically their first cousin. Um, he is my grandfather's youngest sister's son. She was having trouble at the time when she was trying to raise him. So my grandfather, this slide, I just put a couple pictures of me and my first cousins. Because there are 6 of us, 3 girls and 3 boys. That's always been fun. Always had me being the only child, and then my other 2 cousins being the only girls. We always enjoyed that time to see each other. Um, when I was younger, I would go down to Madisonville and just spend the whole summer just down there. And my cousins, since they lived there, well, one set of my cousins, since they live there, I get to spend time with them. But on this slide to the left is a picture of me, then my cousin Naya, and my cousin DeJa. And then to the right is a picture of my grandmother and her grandchildren. You see there's Denzel standing up in all white with his arms folded. And there's me, my grandmother. On my grandmother's lap is Nakia, which is actually my second cousin. But she has always been around like a first cousin to us and kind of like a little sister. Uh, because her mother and her mother's sister was also adopted into my grandmother and grandfather's household. And this is my grandmother, Rosie Young, uh, mother of 4, housed 6, and had 6 grandchildren, and has always been a loving and caring woman. I remember um, when she passed away, and people would come over to my grandmother and grandfather's house, and everything that they would mention, they would always mention that her smile, and that every single one of us had a smile just like hers. And I find that pretty impressive that we could be reflected um, by someone like her, by such a little detail, but people noticed it so much, especially people that really knew her and have known us, me, my cousins, and my mom